Property zoning, what does it mean? How do you find out what it means? Stay tuned for this episode to hear all about it. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minutes, episode 359, talking about property zoning. Not a topic a lot of people know a lot about and how it can affect your property, your business. So we thought this morning, let's talk about it. James, good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
So property zoning, what is zoning? Do you want to, I know you just looked up a definition. Do you want to give us the bland definition and then we can talk about how it can relate to other people?
Yep, sure. So zoning refers to municipal or local laws or regulations that dictate how property can and cannot be used in certain geographic areas. Zoning laws can limit commercial or industrial use of land in order to prevent oil, manufacturing, or other types of businesses from residential neighborhoods.
So in summary, zoning just puts restrictions on certain properties that will say you can or you can't do certain things, and they can be from large scale to small scale. So for an example, in a residential area, the zoning may say you can only have a house, or it may say you can do a duplex, or you can do a block of units. Then you have zoning that also will determine if you can have a retail shop or a medical premises or even a food premises within the property. So there are so many levels to zoning. So this episode will let you know how you can find out what zoning is your property, but also it's very important to look at, especially if you're looking to rent a property, what the zoning is to make sure it can accommodate your business. But also if you're looking to maybe do a development, you want to know what your zoning will allow. So, because there's a lot of times I always get a lot of inquiries where we may have a great house for sale, a big block, and people just think, oh, I could do units here, but they don't necessarily understand that there's zoning that you got to check, and it's very easy to check. It's all public. Like, James, you would have had this on Beacon Hill Road, that big block that you just sold, where a lot of people
very much so.
Talk us through some of what people sort of said, just the initial.
Yeah, so 6 Beacon Hill Road in Brookvale was a big old Federation style house on an 844 square meter block, level land. So through the sales campaign, which was an auction, we had about 200 inquiries come through, and endless phone calls, all the rest of it. And there was a unit block next door to it that was R3. This building was zoned R2, which means you couldn't build up any further. You could do 2 stories, I believe. So you got people, all kinds, that were thinking, right, I can redevelop this land. What can I do with it, James? Can I build a block of units? Can I build duplexes? Can I subdivide it? What options do I have here? And yeah, there's plenty that you can, but you have to know the zoning and what the zoning allows to be able to go any further. So if you don't do this due diligence and you purchase a property on a whim, the likelihood is the zoning may not be correct and you might not be able to do what you thought with it.
Yeah, and the good thing is it's very easy to check, and we'll give you the website that I use every day to basically check everything. Hey, Michelle, Mark, he's just at COF, so he should be back probably next week. Good morning, Anmel. So for anyone out there, this is the website you've got to have. Where is it? I'll bring it up. It's called, let me see. I'll put the link in the text as well. It's planningportalnewsouthwales.gov. So you should have this saved to your phone and bookmarked. Now I'll walk you through what the site actually does. So you can put the address in the property at the far right here, and then it gives you a map where you can see. So the property is highlighted in yellow, and you see labels like IN1, B. So you'll see B5 in blue, and if I scroll across, then you come to different zoning, R2, R3. So the space of basically 1 kilometre, you can see here, James, look at this. It goes from purple to blue to pink to, say, red. So there can be a lot of confusion where basically from one house to the left could be one zoning and the other house could be a different zoning. Now, if you look on the tab to the right, which is key, you've got land zoning here. So the property that I searched was general industrial. So anyone looking at that, because what I find sometimes, James, in Brookvale, there's a lot of old houses because it used to be residential. So someone will see a house looking property and go, well, can I do a house there? The quickest thing to jump on is to planning portal. And the other cool information this site will give you is the height limit of the area. So 11 meters, the minimum lot size. So when people ask you, can I subdivide it? You jump on this website and it'll tell you straight away your minimum lot. Now, a different example. So that's obviously for the bigger stuff, but even when it comes down to, like, let's just say you're looking to lease a property. Where is it? Yeah, let's say you want to lease a retail shop and you want to know if you can do medical here. I've already typed one in, Howard Avenue, DY. So you come back to land zoning and this will say B4. So you've got some certain zonings where you've got B4, B5, industrial, R2, and R3. So, and if you want to know what they mean, you can click on it. And then if you go here, it opens up another page, which will open directly to your council's LEP, which then, if you have a look down, basically gives you a lot more detail, name of plan, the maps, definition, because each zoning has their own definition through there. Because, James, this can, land use, here you go, permitted land use. Here they are, rural, B2. And that's a good way. Like if you took it, say you're looking, there's a Pacific Parade. This was a property that sold not too long ago. It had an old house on the property. And if you wanted to know if you could do a development, you go to planning portal, you would have gone to this property and clicked and gone R3. And for a lot of developers, James, that's like the jackpot zoning. It means you can do high density units, and then you would check your building height limit, which is 11 meters. Now, James, talk us through where this would help when people are looking to lease a property, because they're always worried about what can I do there.
Yeah, so there's a lot of restriction with the zoning, and as you were saying, it sort of fits in. Your business type has to fit within the zoning. So to give a stupid example, if you're wanting to open a retail shop, you certainly don't want to be in an industrial zoned area. So you need to make sure that you've done your research so that you know that you can work there. If you were to sign a lease in a premises like this, I don't believe you're going to get kicked out, but you're going to have to go through a DA process or a CDC process to get the zoning changed. But that also requires the permission of the landlord. So you have to make sure that you're doing all of this due diligence beforehand, so that you can potentially change the usage so you can get started from day one and have no issues.
Yeah, and a little trick out there for people to know. So if it's already permitted under the zoning, then you don't typically need a DA application through council. For any use or any new property, you do have to let council know. You do have to get approval to occupy the premises, even though it's quite often a lot of people will just go move into it. But in theory, you've got to get a certificate. So the easiest way to think about it is you go to planning portal, you look at the zoning, and let's say retail is permitted. But then you got to look under what is retail. So that could be a barbershop, that could be selling clothes, that could be a cafe. So you almost go down a rabbit hole of what does that mean? Then what does that mean? Then what does that mean? And you sort of follow the trail. And it's just because you don't see your specific business topic or name doesn't mean it's not under the broad, because you can imagine they can't think of every business. It would be, they can't think of every business type. So it is quite general, but it's quite general sort of for a reason, to capture a broad amount of usages, because the council don't want every application needing a DA to occupy a typical retail shop. So in the case that it is under the typical zoning, then you can just go to a private certifier. Now, a private certifier can have you ticked off within a day, as long as you've got all the information, like your floor plan, your layouts, the application field. That can happen quite quickly. And this is a big education part we do when we're leasing a lot of properties, because a lot of people, as we spoke about yesterday, talk about rent-free. That's for their fit out. But then a lot of the time, James, they'll be going, well, I need 3 months to do my DA. But it's like, no, you can do a private certification. You're in a retail, like B4, it allows retail. You're a hairdresser, that falls under retail. So you only need to do a private certifier. And you've had some good experience with a private certifier, haven't you, James? Just with the process.
So we had a couple. There was one particularly that sort of stand out, was that Sydney Road property we leased in Manly a few months ago, where it was previously a retail, but he wanted to make it a medical consulting zoning. So he didn't need to go through a DA process, but again, comes back a little bit down to
use. Medical zoning use under the
use. He didn't need to go through a DA process, but it was a strata block, and there are strata requirements. If there's over 100 units in the block, it needs to be put forward at the AGM. If there's less, it doesn't need to be, and it can be ticked off on. So yeah, it was a bit of a fiddly one, but it goes to show that you need to do your due diligence beforehand, but then not leverage that over your landlord or hold it over your landlord's head, which sort of happened a little bit in this sort of scenario. So yeah, it comes back down to do your research beforehand, and then don't try and sign a lease and then make everything pause until you get all your ducks in a row. You need to do these bits and incorporate that into the way you structure your deal. But at the same time, as you said, you can operate before you get that. That's no issue. But as long as that's in the process, then it's fine.
So say it again. So if you've lodged your application or you're in the process, they will actually allow you to open your business, start operating, even before you've got the final tick off.
Yeah, I think so. You're not going to get kicked out either. Your lease isn't, they're not able to break lease for whatever reason. You're in there, you're paying for the premises, and you're in the process of getting all of those parts lined up. So they do give you that window, which they might. I think it might be a little bit different from case to case, but they probably give you up to about 6 months before they really start to chase you if you haven't already gone through this process. Yeah,
because a lot of people get mixed up. So there's two things. Changing zoning basically never happens. It is very difficult. It just and unless you've got 40 properties and houses together and then lodge a special application, it just doesn't happen. Because I know a lot of buyers throw that term around like, we're about to change the zoning. The answer is no. It rarely happens. And if it does, it takes many, many, many years to change. Because you get it quite often where you've got a group of neighbors and they go, we've got 10 neighbors together, we want to sell it to a developer. But it really doesn't work like that. So it's got to be identified. You jump on planning portal. If it's R2, it doesn't matter if you got 10 or 20 neighbors together, and most times. Now, a key thing is as well is you're applying for uses, and as you said, that can be very quick. So you only generally need to, with a commercial property, let's say of a retail shop, to zone through council, it hasn't been labelled as a permitted use, but it's not a permitted use. And then you've got to lodge through council, which may take a couple months. But if it's already labelled as a permitted use, then you're just doing the private certification application. And as you said, you can probably start trading straight away because it's in that process. And that's just adding a use to the property, which can be quite quick to do so. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing. And the website I've put in there, planning portals. Another good one as well, especially if people want to do development, is Six Maps. Now I'm just going to share that. I use this quite often as well to find out where is it? I'll just share the screen. Here it is. This one allows you to basically measure the length and the width, the lot numbers. So especially if you're looking to do developments, James, especially with like residential, a big thing is how wide is the block, and this one will allow you to sort of measure. I know RP Data offers a tool. See, there you go.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
I
similar
find
to
that
RP
one,
Data.
yeah, similar to RP Data. I just find this one's quite handy as well. So
Yeah.
yeah. But they're two websites that if you're an agent, you should definitely have. But if you're looking to do developments or you're looking to lease a property, it's definitely you should definitely have them as well.
Yeah.
Anything
Cool.
else you want to add to this, James?
No, I think that's good.
Awesome.
That's good.
Thanks, everyone. Back tomorrow. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.